Today, we have a really fun chat with our awesome volunteer, Kaylee. She signed up with us to go to Ecuador, a wildlife center in the Amazon jungle, for 12 weeks as a solo female 18-year-old volunteer. Her story is so inspiring. I can't wait for you guys to hear it. We talk about what it was like really as a solo female traveler. Most of our travelers are solo travelers, so it really resonates. Also, she shared with us tons of footage of her hands-on work with the wildlife. Staying for 12 weeks was a huge advantage for her. She got to really work closely with the full rehabilitation process and got to see sometimes from start to finish the whole thing. It's an excellent example of how staying longer can really give you an experience that nothing else can. So let's jump right in. She's an inspiring young woman, and I can't wait for you to hear what she has to say.
Hi.
Hello, it worked.
So happy to chat with you. So fun. Cass told me she spoke to you and I thought, okay, I need to chat with you. So
I'm so honored. I love the whole organization so much. So
oh, that's awesome. Yeah. Start just with being like the beginning of your experience with GoEco. Like what got you inspired to volunteer abroad?
since I was pretty young, me and my parents would go traveling a lot, just like 2-week trips together. And I really wanted to do kind of a bigger thing. I was inspired by my parents, because they did a big trip, but at that point it was a mission trip for them, and I didn't really want to go down that path. And have always had this huge love for animals. And I knew that I wanted to do something with animals, but I didn't really know where to look. So I started doing a lot of research because I knew that there was a lot of things out there that weren't necessarily good for the animals, and I wanted to find something that was going to support the animals and those organizations that are actually helping the ecosystem and the animals. And so I put in a lot of research my senior year of high school into finding an organization that did that, because I didn't know what I wanted to do for college. And I was like, why not just spend as much time as I can with the bit of money that I've made through high school and just do that. So that was originally when I decided to, and then through a lot of research, I ended up finding GoEco and immediately was like, this seems like the thing I want to do.
And so why Ecuador of all the places?
I have been to Panama and Costa Rica previously, just on like family trips, and I loved it. And I am very used to kind of the culture and stuff, so it felt more comfortable to continue to go to South America, just a little bit farther down. And some of my favorite animals are from that area, so it was kind of like a dream location to go there.
So you were there for 12 weeks. That was quite a long time. Talk me through what your decision-making process was for such a big, long trip. Were you nervous about committing for that long, or, talk me through that.
I'm definitely an all or nothing kind of person. So when I was like, well, I don't know what I want to do for college, so I might as well just put all of my time into doing this. And I quit my job and left right around the same time all my friends left for college or university. It was definitely like a big decision. But when I saw that the max time was 12 weeks, I was like, I might as well just go for it and have that really full experience. And there was definitely times throughout the 12 weeks where I was like, this is I miss everybody, like it's too long. But there were also weeks where I was like, I never want to go back home. And it just kind of flopped back and forth like the whole time.
There's an ebb and a flow to these things,
Yeah.
that's for sure. Yeah. Talk me through what it was like as a solo female traveler on these programs. Going with an organization like GoEco, we provide support and we talk to you before you go and we check in with you throughout your trip. How did that impact your experience as a solo traveler?
I knew immediately that I wanted to go with an organization that would help me do that, because it is scary, especially as I'm a 5 foot, very petite female. So you want to know that you're safe for sure. So like taking the flights to get there and then having somebody there was really, really nice. because I didn't have to worry about navigating the whole situation when I'm there, or people trying to sell me taxis or anything like that. So I loved that, and the person that picked me up was really nice. And being able to kind of have like a packing list was super helpful to know kind of how much I would need or not need, to know like vaccines and all of that stuff ahead of time. If somebody was to do it, I would definitely say give yourself at least 8 months before you go to sign up, just so that you can get all those things in. But yeah, once I was there, it was really nice to have somebody meet with you and kind of explain how things were going to work before you're kind of sent off by yourself. So it was really helpful, yeah.
Walk me through like your arrival. I know when it comes to these kind of trips, there's volunteers going throughout the year. So sometimes there's a lot, sometimes there's just a few. What was your experience like through your time there?
I got there, and somebody picked me up, took me to the first hostel for the night, and then I took the bus, where I stayed for a week there. I was the only volunteer for the entire week I was there.
Oh, yeah.
So I was completely alone, which was fine. It definitely was a kind of a shock in a way to just be completely by yourself, but there was the support, which was really nice to have that. But yeah, I was very much alone. Uh, and you can totally do it. Like it's kind of fun to be able to go through that and be like, I just did that, be able to come back and people be like, whoa, that's brave, So yeah, I definitely came at a time where there was very few people, but I think it was worth it.
Sometimes people are nervous about that. Sometimes we also get complaints that there's too many people. It really just depends. It's so random.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah, what advice then would you have for somebody who might be showing up soon, also with not a lot of people around?
I mean, the thing is if they're going to the same place I went, it was a very, very safe town. I didn't feel unsafe at all. Like I felt more unsafe flying to LA than I have staying by myself in that town. So honestly, just explore. Like you can walk the entire town, go wherever you can. There was a little bike tour that was involved in it, and I did that all by myself as well. So just know that like that one specifically, you don't have a guide, like it's just you, uh, which is really cool. Like don't give up on it. That's what I would say is like it's intimidating, but if you do it, it's so much more rewarding, even if it's kind of intimidating. Also just to kind of be aware to maybe go back to your hostel before it's dark and stuff like that. But that's, that was a personal thing for me.
In the arrival and welcome, when you got to Quito, we usually have a coordinator that meets with you and walks you through things. Did you find that was helpful? Did you find you had like enough guidance throughout the trip?
Yeah, absolutely. And it was especially helpful to have somebody come to the buses with me because it was kind of overwhelming because there's so much going on. So that was really nice to be able to kind of have somebody show you how to do it, so then once you're alone to be more confident and know what you're doing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool because you did have to navigate buses and transfers. So
Yeah.
that's really cool. In the end, it was pretty easy to figure out then, hey, with the team and afterwards.
Absolutely, yeah. It was there had no problem with that at all. Yeah, it was pretty easy to figure out.
So tell me about the wildlife center. You were there for so long. Tell me what you remember. What's the highlights?
Oh, there's so much because I was there for so long. It was a great group of people, and I went through a lot of people being there because most people would come for 2 weeks. So there were weeks where we would have cabins that were full, and there would be weeks where it was just me and one other girl. Definitely, depending on how many people are there, depends on like how much you have to carry to feed the animals, or the workload that's put on you. It was a surprise to me that we got to train animals. That was a super exciting surprise for me. So when you get there, you kind of get to be introduced to the animals, you get a tour, and then you kind of pick an animal that is available to train, which was the most incredible experience. I got to work with a black-chested buzzard eagle for almost the entirety of the time I was there. He had a broken foot, so one of his feet was kind of like this, which is why he was there. But it was really fun to experience his stubbornness of I don't know who you are to eventually respecting me and like listening to me. I also had an incredible experience on the last 3 weeks when I was there of a little green macaw that came in that was new. We played every Friday, we had a game. So we would all get together and work in the morning, and then the afternoon we'd play a group game. And whoever won the week before got to plan the next week's game. And sometimes there would be prizes, sometimes it would just be for fun. And one of these was to whoever won got to name the new bird. And I was really determined because I absolutely loved this bird, and my nickname is Kale back home, and they knew that. So on the board where they'd like write all the names, every day I would be some new kind of leafy green just for fun. And one of them was alfalfa. And so we played the game. I ended up winning with my team, and we named the bird alfalfa. And after that, I spent a lot of time with him, and he was kind of like, I don't know if I want to interact with people, kind of secluded, but for some reason, because I kept coming up to him, he ended up really liking me to the point of I was the only one that could walk up to him. And the vet that stayed there, he was like, "Do you want to train him? Because he won't respond to anyone else." So it was really, really incredible to experience kind of an animal almost choosing you, and then being able to go from him like trying to bite my fingers to willingly getting on my arm. And yeah, so I would say definitely like the group games and the training were my favorite parts, but it was also fun to be able to, experience carrying sand and rocks in chicken bags to construction sites and cleaning pools and feeding the animals. I will say my least favorite thing was preparing the training food for my animals. Because if you
Especially
pick a
the carnivores,
carnivore,
I imagine.
yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. So, we always have lots of people unsure of how long they should stay if they have flexible dates, right? So, what would you recommend or say regarding the length of time that you stayed and your experience with other volunteers who came and went in shorter time periods and overlapped with you? What's your overall kind of view on that?
2 weeks is way too short immediately. There was a lot of people that stayed for 2 weeks, and they would just get to the point where the animal they were training would start to connect with them, and then they'd have to go. And every time I saw that, they would be very sad. I think the best time frame that I saw was 5 to 6 weeks. It was pretty comfortable for most people, and you got to the point where you kind of like enjoyed it.
So how about, you said you joined after high school, you weren't sure what you wanted to do. Did this trip help solidify anything for you or give you any insight into your future, your career, or anything?
A huge thing that I took from it was we had our internet would go in and out. And so we would have long periods of time, especially on the weekend, where we just, you're just sitting outside. And that gives you a lot of time to think and just kind of sit with yourself, which I know to some people probably sounds like torture, but it was really nice. And I had been struggling with a few things. So to be able to do that and really reconnect with myself was incredible. It didn't solidify a lot for knowing what I wanted to do career-wise, just because it made me want to do that all the time. But definitely when it came to me personally and finding who I was, it hugely benefited.
So is there any specific moment that you really remember that you would say was particularly impactful or changed how you saw the world, how you saw the country or yourself?
I think the last couple weeks when I started having to say goodbye to the animals
Mm.
was huge, because it makes you appreciate everything so much more. That and the week after I got back home, and just seeing how much more you appreciate the little things, like having hot water, having Wi-Fi, like having a bed that the sheets don't come off of. Just little things like that. Having a private space, period. And you just realize how you see the whole world differently, and like everything has new color, and you have so much more appreciation for everything else, and then for yourself, because you did that and you helped a little bit of the world, and it gave me this whole new passion to want to help more, um because I got to really connect with a lot of the wildlife. And you really get to see, like, there was this blind puma that they had, and he was the sweetest thing. And it kind of opens your eyes to, there's so many people that are scared of animals when they're gorgeous and just sweethearts. you know so it's very, very eye-opening and impactful, for sure.
Let's talk more practical things for other volunteers who might be going here or might consider joining this program. What of the practical advice would you say you really would want someone to know who's planning to go there?
It really varied on who else was there, for sure. When I was there, changed a lot, and because there was a lot of internet outages, that would also really heavily impact kind of what we did. We would have Uno tournaments in the evening, which was really fun. Yeah, a lot of card games. I would say if you have a card game you love, absolutely bring it, because if you're in the dark in the evening and you have a couple like little candle lights, it's really fun to play a few games. After, like, during free time, you're really able to do whatever you want. You could take a walk around the park, which is really beautiful. You can, be on your phone if you want to, call relatives, whoever. It's like a little kitchen that you can use on weekends and stuff, and the town is not very far away. It takes like a 2-minute taxi to get into, I thought was going to be a much smaller little town, but it's actually pretty significant, and you can get pretty much anything you'd need there. Also, if somebody is leaving, people will usually go out on Friday night to karaoke, which is always fun. When it comes to like things to bring or things to expect, definitely expect to be working in extremely hot weather and to not be clean. For every Friday, at least while I was there, we would have a half day of our work, and then we would play together as a team. And weekends are all for yourself. Like, if you want to get a group together, we went to a waterfall at one point.
So I also really love to ask people, what do you feel is like the biggest difference between like a normal travel and tourism trip, where usually when I talk about it, it usually makes sense to say that, when you're a tourist, you focus more on, the focus is on me as the traveler, versus when you volunteer and the focus is more on the program, the cause you're volunteering for, and the local impact there. So with that in mind, what would you say is, for someone who doesn't know what volunteering abroad is about, what would you say is the biggest difference between normal travel and volunteering travel?
I would say the comforts that you would get aren't there. It's very thrown into the whole situation. You get the full experience. Especially if you've never gone to South America before, it's going to be a bit of a culture shock. It's definitely a difference, and you're thrown in the middle of it. Like, you're not in a resort somewhere, you're not in a touristy area, like you are where everybody else is. It was actually really interesting to me to see the people that would visit the park, and see that most of them were locals, and very few, were travelers. So it's not in like a touristy location.
What ways do you feel like you really grew from the experience?
I think it gave me this very strong work ethic that I kind of had before, but just really brought it out. And I'm pretty competitive, so being able to kind of channel that into, oh, I can carry this many rocks up there today as this small woman, like I can do it. Uh, and it also really just extra solidified my love of animals, and having the experience of a bird kind of choosing me. like that's something I'm never ever gonna forget. Yeah. Also, the people that I met and seeing different cultures from all over the world was really, really cool. I'm still in contact with like 5 of them, and I'm planning to travel with one of them that I met from Canada actually during that trip again. So yeah, it there was a lot of things that were very impactful and I felt really helped me grow as a person, especially coming right out of high school and, not really knowing who you are 100%.
If someone is trying to decide between Ecuador and some other place, why should they go there? Why that program?
Immediately, I would say the animals. There's a lot of them. It's a lot bigger of a place than I was expecting. Um, there are a variety of pretty much anything you can think of from that area. Obviously, like from a puma to birds of prey to macaws to monkeys, like everything you could think of is probably there. There's also a very cool experience of getting to release animals, and there's like a specific spot that you go, and um, the the community of volunteers is really cool. But yeah, being able to train an animal was my biggest thing. To be able to really be hands-on with an animal and say like, "Oh, I really experienced this," and it's an exotic animal too. So it's not just like, "Oh yeah, I helped train a dog." Like, in my experience, I had an eagle that was wingspan was probably bigger than mine on my arm, which is just absolutely incredible. And obviously, I don't know how the other ones work, but just being able to do that at all was absolutely incredible and definitely the highlight of the whole thing.
That's really cool. Maybe explain what that training process looked like and why they were being trained, like for what purpose.
So, each animal is different for the training process, but the reason for training is for animals that are either rescued from the illegal pet trade or are disabled, like the eagle that I worked with. So they can't be in the wild. Like he could not catch his own food because he can't use his foot. For those animals, because they can get depressed if they're just sitting in a cage, even if it's like a big area, they can get depressed because they don't have mental stimulation. So the idea with training is to mentally stimulate them and give them that sense that they're achieving something, they're doing something, that they're finding the food, that they're like doing things. So depending on what animal you work with, obviously depends on what you're going to be doing with them. So what I did with the eagle was initially just getting him used to me and being in there. And the first few weeks, he was like, "I don't know who you are. I don't know how I feel about this." So he would like jump at my boot, and like try to grab it, which is intimidating when it's a big bird. But uh eventually he kind of saw, I'm not going anywhere, and they start to kind of listen to you a little bit more. The goal was to get him used to me so that he would fly to me, and then you reward him for coming to you with the cue that you give him. It's like training a dog, honestly, different because they're different animals and different things. And then one of the times when I was there, I was trying to get him to go onto a scale because a lot of the training things that they will do will be for the vets. So for the macaws, they'll teach them how to lift up both their feet and open up their wings so that the vet doesn't have to grab them to see those things if they have an injury or something like that. They'll willingly do it for food. So in his situation, I was trying to get him used to a scale and so that he would go to it so we could weigh him, which took about a month and a half to do. So it's a lot of patience and continuing to be like, "It's not scary, it's okay, like you trust me, okay, the blue block is not going to attack you, it's fine." So yeah, that was the main thing with him, and creating trust with any kind of bird of prey takes a lot longer than other animals would. Like working with the macaw, we would do target training, which would be you had a little stick and you'd put it somewhere and say target, and they have to go and touch the end of that stick and then get rewarded. So I did a lot of that with him, and then we started training so that he could come to my arm as well. So it really just depends on what animal, but that was the purpose of it, was to stimulate. And
we have so many young women who are just kind of like nervous to take that leap. So what would you say for someone who's like, right on the cusp of like taking this volunteer life-changing journey and, but kind of nervous on the edge? What would you say?
Do it 100%. I would say that hearing from a lot of people that I talked to when I said, oh yeah, I'm doing this, they were like, oh, aren't you scared like for your safety? I wasn't. And I would say for anybody that is going to do it, don't be. Being able to make the decision and be like, absolutely, this is something that I want to do, and then just doing it. Stop thinking about it, whatever anybody else is saying. Like, there are going to be people that are going to be like, oh, you're going by yourself as a woman? Like, that doesn't seem like a very good idea. You should have somebody come with you. And it's like, well, honestly, it's fine. And it doesn't matter because it's your journey, it's your trip, it's your choice. And you're going to be so proud of yourself for doing it. And you're going to be able to come back afterwards, even if it's for 2 weeks, and be like, yeah, I did that. The people that doubted you are going to be like, wow, that's very impressive. So that was the biggest thing for me, was just getting over the other people's opinions.
One of my questions for Ecuador. I know you're planning now your next trip and you're looking at Zimbabwe. I've been there and I love it. Why the next program Zimbabwe? Why there?
It's another animal place. So, and I miss my animals, but I really want to experience something completely new. Because I've been to Central and South America several times in my lifetime, and I want to go somewhere completely different, which Africa is that. So I was also, it was interesting because Africa hadn't really been on my list of like wanting to go to places, but I saw that as an option and I was like, you know what? Why not? I'm really curious because I really don't know a lot about the wildlife there to really get to see that and experience that. That was my main thing.
Okay, cool. And so now this is your second trip GoEco. Tell me about just overall your experience with us and, what you love about us, maybe what we can do better, everything.
I am so glad that I chose to do this program, honestly. The fact that there was an interview the first time I did it made me feel so much more comfortable and like I'm going with something reliable. And hearing like somebody truly asking me about myself and being able to be like, random, just whoever can't come, like they want specific people, and I loved that. So that was a huge thing. And then being able to have all of these things immediately afterwards, like, this is what you're gonna need, these are like, that was also very comforting for me to know that like I had a plan. Especially as a first time solo traveler, it's nerve-wracking to know like how to plan it, where to go. And by the end of the trip, I was able to like book myself a hostel going back and, navigate the city by myself. Because I had that help, which was really, really cool. I loved it so much, and I was able to make the few videos that I did, and I loved doing that. And your guys' response to that was super encouraging and very validating as a young traveler, but also as like an aspiring creator. So I was very excited to hear that and wanted to continue to do that for the organization because I love what it stands for. And so that was a huge motivator to go with GoEco again, is to be able to advocate for the community, and to be able to hopefully help other people see the program and want to travel as well, because I really want as many people as possible to get to see this side of the world, because most people don't, and that's really sad to me.
I remember you posting that like originally, and it was so fun. And we even like showed some of your reels and some of the webinars we've been doing, and because they're so like day in a life kind of along with me, it was like so well done. So we love that stuff. That's really great. So we're more than happy to showcase and share your stuff as much as you want. So I can't wait to see you in Zimbabwe. That'll be really fun. Bye.